He tells me that in the past, the hats were made of animal skin, but that has now been replaced by steel. And the beads on the hat are from a Korean tradition of using colors to represent youth. And now for a little lesson.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hey, it's not turning very well.
对了，圆圈，对了，对了，会摇了吧？
会了。
就这样就行。
How's that?
But before I ruin the dance for you, this is how it should be done. It's rare to see an outdoor performance smack in the middle of winter, but we were lucky. The elephant trunk hat dance is the highlight of the dance series performed to celebrate harvest time. The men are the lead performers for this dance, while the women control the beat with traditional drums. The dance is energetic and a real pleasure to watch. Watch him go! A ribbon is attached to the top of the hat, and the men use their heads to swing it around themselves and their dance partners. There are 2 types of ribbon, the short, which becomes the short trunk of an elephant, and the long, which, well, yeah, the long trunk of an elephant. This dance is almost hypnotic, and it's not enough to watch it just once. I could probably sit and watch them swing their heads in a circular motion, tossing lengths of ribbon into the air all day. It's a beautifully synchronized dance that requires excellent neck, head, and shoulder control, and that takes years and years of practice. So it's no wonder that this dance is ranked as a national cultural heritage dance. Back we go to the city of Hongchun. I love the signs that appear in Chinese, Korean, and Russian here. They really show how integrated and accepting these 3 cultures are of each other. We travel to Korean Minority Middle School to see the place where young minds are formed and young athletes begin their training. The Korean minority have tremendous respect for education and learning, but academics aside, sports is seen as one of the main forms of education here, and they also put a lot of emphasis on maintaining traditional sports. Young girls train for years to be able to swing like this. The aim is to swing high enough to touch the bells. Competitions are judged in 2 parts. First, the number of times they're able to touch the bell, and second, how high they're able to swing. And amongst the traditional sports, the worldwide favorite sport of football is also especially loved here. Football is especially popular among Korean men, and the Yanbian area has a reputation of being the land of football. Although being on the land doesn't really do much for my skill.
They're not giving the ball!
Turns out these middle school boys can still dance circles around me. What a pity. The Korean minority are known for their sporting traditions. The boys in soccer, and while the seesaw and the swing are for boys and girls, the girls specialize in it. Look at them training.
Good, they start at an early age too.
The cameraman has a go, but he's a little too heavy for the girls to lift. Let's see if I'll do any better.
I can. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
The trick is to jump without bending your knees. Try it, it's not that easy. I'm doing pretty good.
They're a lot better than I am.
These middle school girls have been training on the seesaw for 3 or 4 years now, and it's a graceful sport that combines gymnastics and acrobatics. I mean, look at how high they jump. The girls use props such as fans, ribbons, and hoops to turn the sport of seesawing into a jaw-dropping performance that combines strength and flexibility. As a kid in school, we used to just sit on the seesaw, but here, art is created. But it's not just an individual sport. It involves a lot of communication and teamwork. The girls rely on their partner to push them into the air, while 2 other girls sit in the middle of the board to hold it down, and the others stand guard nearby in case they miscalculate their landing. And we're on the road again. This time, we travel to a small village called Mijiang, where there is a national cultural heritage known for the traditional Korean minority instruments. It's a small, peaceful village, and I meet 2 Han Chinese girls who tell me that they're going to a class that practices traditional Korean minority instruments. I ask if I can follow along, and they said yes. The Korean minority are very fond of music, and sometimes they can be found singing and dancing, accompanied to the sounds of drums and flutes while at work in the fields and construction sites. They might not be at a field or a construction site, but this get-together is a mix of people, old, young, Korean minority, and the 2 Han Chinese girls who have told me that they play these instruments because they enjoy the sound and beauty of the music. And it's here that they work together to share and maintain the sounds of traditional Korean songs played with traditional instruments. In the winter, it gets pretty cold up here, and by 4:20 p.m., it's usually pitch dark. It kind of threw me off schedule, but it's lucky that I managed to arrive at the oldest traditional Korean minority house located at the border of North Korea and China, right before it's dark out. And judging by the sound of the commotion inside, just in time for dinner preparation. Nothing like a warm fire when it's cold out. This indoor fire is a traditional stove, and it's nothing short of miraculous. Meals are prepared quickly and easily, which was really important for the farmers in the past. Throw in some rice garnished with corn kernels, pour in the water, and wait for it to cook. Sounds easy enough, but now for the more complicated part. Dajiang is a delicious dried bean cake that's mixed with water to form a traditional bean soup eaten at every meal. It takes about a year before these cakes are dried and ready to be used in the kitchen, but trust me, it's worth the wait. In the Korean minority customs, both children and the old are loved and cherished. Family life is a really important part of their culture, and each year there's even a festival to pay respect to the old. While the cooking is being done, the house is heated at the same time. It's such a great way to cut wastage and conserve energy. 3 meals cooked on these stoves will keep the entire house warm throughout the day.
Oh,
Time for dinner, and the food looks and smells delicious. I love Korean food, and there's nothing like a home-cooked meal and some great conversation. Turns out, they bought the house around 45 years ago, and they raised their children here. While their children have all grown up, their grandson, Si-gang, comes to visit whenever he can. When I first came into the house, Si-gang ran away screaming, but it didn't take him long to warm up.
It's freezing cold, but I had to come up here on Changbai Mountain. It's a holy place for both the Korean minority and the Korean people. That lake over there was known to be a volcanic crater in the past. Take a look at this view.
And it's a spectacular view. It's definitely the most beautiful part of Changbai Mountains. If you look into the horizon, you'll see the clouds that hover lazily over the mountains. The Changbai Mountain is made up of waterfalls, rivers, forests, hot springs, and is inhabited by the wildlife. The drive up and down may be bumpy, but you can see why so many battle the cold and the bumpy roads just to get a glimpse of the mountain and the Tianshi Lake. You can get to the Changbai Mountain by traveling to the capital city of Yanji and then driving up to the Erdahaihe County. And if you'd like to spend a few days up in the mountains, surrounded by beautiful scenery, you can even camp out or stay in the luxurious lodges.
The Korean minority placed a lot of importance in upholding their traditional morals and values, such as respecting their elders, loving their children, and teamwork in sports. I've had such an exciting time being a part of their lives, and I hope you have too. Join me next time on Travelogue. I'm Michelle Lean. Annyeong!
Oops, I meant annyeonghae. That's bye. The cold must have gone to my head. I'll see you next time.